But first, Canada's immigration policy. Is it really working? The federal government is proposing several changes to Canada's Immigration Act. The most controversial is an amendment that would allow bureaucrats to fast-track applicants from immigrants it wants, in addition to giving Immigration Minister the final say on whether or not someone should be allowed into the country. Nick Noorani is the author of Arrival Survival Canada, and it's the publisher of the Canadian Immigrant magazine. Welcome to the show, Nick.
Thank you. It's a pleasure to be here.
You seem to be a person who has a lot of questions about some of these new changes that are going on.
Yes.
What's your biggest problem with some of the changes?
I'm worried about the fact that what is being said and what is actually the fact, they don't match.
Okay, what's being said, and then what do you have problems with?
What's being said is that the government supports immigration. Mm-hmm. However, last year, we dropped immigration numbers by 36,000.
So the lineup's getting longer.
That means that the lineup's getting longer.
They say 800 to 900,000 people waiting still. Is that what they're saying?
Well, and this is where it becomes very difficult to understand.
Right.
Number one is there are only 4,000 officers globally who are processing these applications.
Okay, I got you.
They're the same people who are processing 125,000 temporary workers who were brought in last year. Now, I don't have a problem, but out of the 125,000, Randall, 50% of them are nannies. I don't understand how they are. Right. Yeah, how do they help the economy of the country?
Because one of the things I understand is that they want to take the line, the queue, this big long queue, and be able to allow people who have skills that are usable in Canada to be able to jump the queue a little bit. Now, that sounds like a good idea, that Canada should be able to attract people that it needs. Why do you have a problem with that?
Well, the way the Immigration Act works is that everyone has to be processed. That's a level of fairness. Mm-hmm. It's created a level playing field.
But fairness, if you have two different people, both show up, one has got no skills, just a farm labor, one has got computer skills, and we really need as a country, wouldn't we want to give preferential treatment to the one?
Well, and then it boils down to who's going to take a decision. Will it be decided on religion? Will it be decided on race?
It's based on skill. It's on skill.
No, because it's ambiguous. What the minister is asking for is carte blanche. I don't want to go back to Parliament to discuss anything. Give me carte blanche to take a decision who and when I will allow to come into the country. That defeats the very tenets of democracy.
Well, wouldn't he say, though, the minister say, I cannot, obviously, because of the charter, discriminate based on religion, race, or gender. So what I'm going to discriminate on is skill and what we have needs of in Canada. Isn't that a good idea?
Why do we have a point system then, Randall? We have a point system.
Yeah.
And if we're talking, then what I would like to propose is, and I said this to the minister, you know, I am the first one to admit we've got a problem with the way things stand today. I don't believe the solution to the problem is to give one individual the right to make unilateral decisions.
But she is saying that she says, I want to be able to make the decisions in the best interest of the country. And we've elected her, and maybe she is working in the best interest of the country.
It's one person, Randall. It still is one person. At the end of it all, if we go back, there has been another minister, and I'm not going to name ministers, who made decisions which actually have contributed to the backlog itself. This, again, has contributed to the backlog. The very fact that you're processing 125,000 temporary workers, it takes those 4,000 visa officers off the actual backlog.
And do we need these? Is the idea to say we need these workers, these usually farm workers or at least temporary workers that we're bringing? We need them because the immigrants that are coming in are not interested in doing that labor, or what?
You know, they're cheap. There's cheaper labor because if you're an immigrant, you come in here, you have certain rights. There has been a case, the Alberta Labor Union has just discovered, they did a survey, and they found rampant abuse of temporary workers in Alberta, which is one of the, right now it's sucking up all the labor across the country.
So you're saying these people that are coming over are almost being treated like slaves?
Exactly.
But they're still under the protection of the Canadian government.
No, of who? That's the problem. No one knows who's in charge of them. So what's happening is they're coming in here, They're being asked to do tasks and perform tasks which were not what they were recruited for.
You're saying there's no regulation?
There is no regulation out there.
Interesting. So you're saying these people that are coming in it's an unregulated industry?
Unregulated. They're being asked, there's huge amount of abuse in terms of what they're being paid, the number of hours they're being asked to work. That's not the Canadian way.
Part of the Canadian way, though, and obviously in a country like ours where our birth rate is declining, we have a need for immigration. Canada is based on immigration.
Yes.
And yet we say, do we just open the doors indiscriminately to anyone?
I agree.
It sounds like what you're saying, yeah, just open the doors. Have anyone that wants to come in.
I'm saying let's stick with the same way in which we've been going. But let's not turn around and say, okay, we're going to take a decision, one person's going to take a decision. To me, if this is so important, why then is it tucked into a fait accompli, which is being presented in the budget? Why is it not something that is being tabled in Parliament for open discussion, like it happens in a democracy? In a democratic society, we discuss these things openly. Why is it being presented in a manner which is a gun to the head, saying, if you don't approve this, we're going to pull the government and we go to elections?
After this break, I'm going to ask Mr. Noorani if Canadians should discriminate based upon what they understand to be a good for Canada. Should we allow people into the country that don't even understand what Canada is all about? After this break.